10:30, the hearing is scheduled at 10:30. So we are going to get started. We're going to get started by reading a letter dated October 9, 2024 to the Executive Council. Dear Council, I am pleased to nominate Lauren E. Reznick to the position of Associate Justice of the Land Court. I put the E in, so there's no confusion, there's another one. I submit this nomination to the advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I impose the nominees Reznick for your convenience, sincerely, Maura T. Haley. We are going to start by introducing the councilors that are currently present. Councilor Devaney, Councilor Jacobs, and my name, if anybody doesn't know it, is Kevin Kennedy. The other councilors are en route. Some of them ran into the traffic. I know that Councilor Duff had a medical appointment, so I'm not sure she's going to be here. So anyway, we're going to start by having you introduce everybody you brought with you. That should take about 2 hours.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Chair. Before I get started, yes, I would like to take a moment to introduce the folks who came in the room today and thank them for taking the time to be here. All of your support and encouragement has been valuable to me. In the room, we have the Honorable Diane Rubin, Associate Justice of the Land Court.
My constituent, I remember taking her hearing.
Who will be a witness for me today. My second witness will be Attorney J.B. Landowski here from Summit Law School. We also have several guests in the room attending today, which I think is including my husband, Eric Nielsen, who's sitting behind me.
Is he here in favor or opposition?
Hopefully in favor of what we shall see. My very good friend, Chris Landowski, who I've known since law school. Don't see her here yet, so maybe she couldn't make it, but one of my mentees was potentially going to come. I also have Jill Zider in the room, who is the Deputy Court Administrator of the Land Court. Deborah Patterson, the reporter of the Land Court, and certainly she's here. Ellen Kelly also, she is the deputy reporter of the Land Court. Deborah Patterson, the reporter of the Land Court. And then Kathleen Hayes from the Sessions Clerk of the Land Court. So I'm happy to have you here. I also have Sarah Smeagol over here and John Tilley, who are both Deputy Legal Counsel at the Land Court. Barbara Lewitton, who is our Fiscal Operations Supervisor, and Joe Walsh, there he is, our e-course business analyst. So we have a big Land Court family here today.
See that? There's not much business going on there.
Don't worry, many judges are my English.
I did want to introduce Councilor the Paul. You're 2.5 minutes late. What's that? Okay, so we're going to call your first witness.
That would be Associate Justice Diane Rubin.
Yes, the Honorable Diane Rubin, Associate Justice of the Land Court. Judge, come on up.
Good morning, councilors. Good morning. It was about 6 years ago that I sat here as a nominee, and I want to thank you for your consideration then, and also for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Mayor Reznick today.
If I could say thank you for your service, that was my proud vote.
Thank you. I met Lauren in January of 2019 when I joined the Land Court, and Lauren's legal counsel then. Judge Jennifer Robertson, I joined at the same time, 2 out of 7 judges, and Lauren helped onboard us. Because not long thereafter, Judge Robertson, I went to Lauren and we said, can you tell us about interdepartmental transfers and assignments? And I had not really had any experience with those, but you need to know about the Land Court because we're a court limited jurisdiction. And sometimes there's a property case in the Land Court, and then a tort case in the Superior Court, and we have to figure out how to handle those. So it was sort of an arcane thing, but Lauren did what Lauren always does. She pulled together a fabulous presentation, detailed all the backup, and she did a refresher for all the judges. That's just what Lauren does. I soon came to realize that Lauren didn't just answer questions for the judges. It didn't matter if you were the chief or a recorder, or you could be a law clerk or a sessions clerk, or you could even be somebody from the IT team. And you were stuck, you had a question, you go to Lauren, you'd ask, please help me figure this out. And she just did it. That's just what she did. And I think that's why there's so many folks here today, because Lauren is just, she just gets things done. And she knows, it's always she gets things done because she knows that what's important is to help the people that come before the court. That's really what our goal and mission is. I also wanted to speak for just a couple of minutes about Lauren's commitment to access to justice. And there's two examples that I have. One is, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the Maine Court's website recently, but there's some pretty good materials on it. And we've spent some time in the Maine Court trying to update them with frequently asked questions and answers. So folks, especially those who are self-represented, can come and learn about it, you know, a petition to partition or you're in a tax lien case and you don't know what you're supposed to do. It's a resource for the judges to be able to say, hey, you know what, go look at the website. There's actually, and Lauren's been the lead on that. She does a really good job of taking very complicated things and making them simple. The other thing that I'll touch on briefly is the pro bono tax lien assistance program. And that's a program that the Maine Court has started together with Lawyers Clearinghouse Access to Justice Program, Fellows Program. And there's folks who are in tax title proceedings, they're foreclosure proceedings, they could lose their houses, and most of them are self-represented. And they're really in tough straits because they could lose their homes. So we've worked with Lawyers Clearinghouse for a couple of years, and there's different people that have come and gone. The idea is to get volunteer attorneys to come in and help folks figure out, can I refinance? Can I do a payment plan? Can I get a loan from a family member? And worst comes forth, maybe even just, I have to sell the house, but at least I'm going to maximize my equity in the property. So there's been a lot of people who have come this over the years, a lot of hired judges and other folks, but Maureen's been the really lot. She's been the one that has pushed this forward and made sure that we are on track. So we did a pilot program. She's done fabulous training materials for volunteers, and now we're ready to roll such bar association. So I share some of these examples of my experiences with Lauren because I think they demonstrate her excellent legal skills, as well as her real commitment to the people that come before the court and also her hard work. She's just a real hard worker. And I would welcome her joining us.
Thank you, Judge. Any questions from the council? Council Jacob?
Thank you. Fine, thank you for being here. I appreciate everything you have to say. It's funny, where you ended on access to justice and the real estate tax lien, pro bono program is really the first bullet point I had on my questions for the nominee today, but, I appreciate you highlighting it because, well, for a few reasons. One, there's a really strong advocacy effort in Western Mass around doing what we can legislatively to create more equity for those who are, you know, struggling financially, who have built equity in a home that they're going to potentially lose for this reason, and you know, how to preserve, pay off what they need to pay off, but preserve some of the accumulated, you know, financial stability that represented for their family that is in jeopardy now. But also because, you know, when we talk about land court, you don't necessarily think first off about self-represented. You don't really think about, you know, the conversation that I had with Attorney Reznick was, you know, really rich in looking at how, you know, systemic racism is baked into things that are in your wheelhouse for land court in so many different ways, and this is one for sure that pops up. And so I appreciate all the work and the sensitivity around all the different factors that play in on that particular stream of cases that come through. So one comment than a question. Thank you.
Council Deming?
Oh, nice to see you. You know, a lot of people don't know what the land court is about. And I know you need more people on the land court, for sure. And I thank you for your service again. Tell me, what particular case comes to mind that really impressed you about this nominee?
Gee, there's so many. I really think it's not so much a case, but it's this access to justice program, the tax lien program, because I can give examples of people, but somebody is really at risk of losing their house, right? And they can move a place to go. And meanwhile, they don't know $5,000 or $10,000 that, you know, that equity in the house may be substantial. And this is a way to get a pro bono counsel for that person to help them enter into a payment plan And Lauren's really made this program come to life. And
No, in my 25 years, I've seen so many witnesses come around about the housing court, which is related. And really saddens me because we have so many people that are evicted. And, it just seems to be getting worse for everyone, for young people starting out and everything. So land court to me is very important. And I have to tell you, it was Judge Green. And I started with him, oh, I don't know how many years ago, and he just retired. But he brought so much from the land court to the appeals court, and he was the first from the land court. So it is important, and we learned so much from Justice Green being on the appeals court that is related to land court. So I thank you for all you do, and this is quite an honor for this nominee to have you come as a witness, and so good to see you.
thank you so much. I'm so happy.
Thank you, Judge. And we're gonna call you next witness, Jamie Landowski, Esquire.
Morning. I'd like to thank the Governor's Council for the opportunity to speak in support of Attorney Lauren Reznick's nomination to the Land Court, and also for your time and dedication to vetting and confirming these qualified candidates. My name is Jamie Landowski, and I'm the Executive Director of Suffolk University Law School's Center for Housing Justice and Policy. I've worked in fair housing for over 12 years as I helped launch the Housing Discrimination Testing Program, which is now part of the center at Suffolk back in 2012. Our program provides legal representation to victims of housing discrimination, fair housing testing, and education outreach throughout the Commonwealth related to fair housing rights and responsibilities. We also engage in empirical research. We released a first of its kind in the nation study in 2016 that measured the level of gender identity and gender expression-based discrimination in the rental market. And you might have read about our 2020 study that was funded by the Boston Foundation called Qualified Renters Need Not Apply. That measured the levels of race-based and voucher-based discrimination in that market. Lauren and I have had some opportunities to collaborate professionally, which I would like to share with you, but I've also had the privilege of knowing Lauren for over 20 years, as she and my partner were in the same year at BU Law. Lauren has long been one of my go-to people to ask what she thinks about legal issues, and in particular, property-related concepts. I am aware of the fact that the Massachusetts Land Court is one of only 2 in the nation, because Lauren has mentioned that more than once. And in fact, she visited the other land court in Hawaii while she was on vacation. And that is the vacation story from Hawaii that I heard multiple times. Lauren possesses many of the qualities that I think are important for a judge. She's very intelligent and thoughtful. She's an excellent communicator, and she has the ability to explain complicated things in a way that others can easily understand. She's also very collegial, and I've seen how well she builds professional relationships. I went to observe Lauren's last day in court when she was at the VA's office. She had told me there was a really interesting trial scheduled that day, which of course settled right before it was set to start. I watched as Lauren was given a file for a new trial to move forward on in its place. It wasn't her case. She had very little time to get familiar with it. I was amazed at how she was able to not just competently handle it, but effectively advocate for the Commonwealth with so little time to prepare. I also recall the opposing counsel for that case overheard her saying to the court staff that it was her last day, and his response in jest was, "Oh, thank God." And I think her preparation and dedication to the position was certainly recognized. Beyond that, her demeanor and temperament is such that she was liked and respected, not just by the court staff at all levels, her colleagues in the DA's office, but also opposing counsel, which was evident to me that day that I spent observing her in court. And it's again evident to me today with all of the support that she has from her colleagues right now. Lauren is extremely generous with her time. She was involved with the Big Sister program for years, and I always enjoyed hearing about the activities that she and her little did together. More recently, she has volunteered for the Cambridge Redevelopment Authority, which honestly was the perfect marriage of her dedication to volunteering and her passion for development projects and initiatives that promote social equity and environmental sustainability. I work in fair housing, and I very much appreciate Lauren's commitment to fairness, access, and equity. My most comprehensive experience working with Lauren on a professional level came about from her work at the court on addressing discriminatory restrictive covenants. Restrictive covenants are agreements between parties limiting or restricting the use of land owned by one of the properties. It was a common practice in this country to restrict property ownership based on race, ethnicity, or other discriminatory criteria. Those covenants are no longer legal in the United States, but there are many deeds that still include that discriminatory language. I had spoken with Lauren about her work on the land court's new standing order, which is aimed at addressing discriminatory restrictive covenants in land records. Even though those documents are no longer legally enforceable, allowing that language to remain unaddressed signals to those who are targeted that they are not welcome in their communities. Not long after that had come up, I was in touch with friends at Harbor Light Homes and the North Shore NAACP. With the Mapping Prejudice Project at the University of Minnesota Libraries, they had identified 390 documents as government Essex County that contain discriminatory language. Thinking back on my conversations with Lauren, the connection made perfect sense. I shared her Boston Bar Journal article with them and put them in touch with her so they could learn about what the land court was doing in this space. As a result, Harbor Light successfully integrated the land court standing order into their project. Lauren's willingness to collaborate with others and consider diverse perspectives and viewpoints is a fundamental part of her professional values. Lauren has been a dedicated leader in the land court and serves as a valuable community resource, promoting fairness, access, and equity through this project and many others, some of which you've already heard about. I myself have had many conversations about access and equity with Lauren over the years, and I've always been impressed by how thoughtful she is about it. Not everyone will read a book when a friend recommends it, but when I told her about Just Action, which is the follow-up to The Color of Law, she not only read it, she went to a reading in Cambridge that the authors, Richard and Leah Rothstein, did. She also picked up extra copies for her colleagues. It has been clear to me that access, equity, fairness, and justice are very important principles for Lauren. Her legal skills are impressive, and her passion for all things property and real estate related are next level nerdy. But I think it is her interpersonal skills that will make her an excellent judge. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, and I didn't pass on pen. Really, Ben? Wait, you laughing? That's legit.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, you started laughing.
No, I actually, so this was my second bullet point, things I wanted to talk about today. So I very much appreciate what you're talking about with the, racial exclusion covenants, as we're done, I think we're dirty deeds and void provisions was everything we've done. But, again, I think people don't really know what land court's all about. They don't really understand some of the issues that are prevalent that speak to the origins of our state, of our government, of our cultures and communities. And I think this particular issue that you're highlighting at the end of your statement is one that, as much as they're no longer enforceable or legal, still are really important that they exist and people be aware of them. And I feel like the Essex project that happened is amazing and a model for what should be happening across our state. I think in terms of engaging our, like, this seems like the kind of thing where internships at universities could be, you know, colleges could be a place that like controls doing this kind of work. And so I very much appreciate the collaborative work people have done around this issue and hope that it will continue and expand. I will actually add a question to all that, not to leave it as a comment, but
You don't have to.
I know. I couldn't. All right, you know what? I'll leave it there. But I just thank you very much for all the work you do and for highlighting where systemic racism, marketing far back into the early days exists and how it can be at least slightly controversial.
Other than that.
You have quite a job, really, the responsibilities that you have. So, given that, how much time do you have to work with this nominee? How often do you see her working on these type of things?
Well, I do know her personally, so I have the ability to text
Well, that's
and questions as they come up, which is amazing. There's been a few times over the last, 10 years or so that we've crossed paths professionally, which has been really nice. I think the most recently, Lauren actually sat on the panel at our last conference that we had, and it was amazing how well she explained the processes of the land court and different things that people actually misunderstood, because they're quite complex, to a really diverse group of people that were sitting in the audience, lawyers, non-lawyers, and she was able to explain it. So we've had the opportunity to collaborate a little bit professionally, which has been great. And it's nice that she was able to do like a conference like that. She sat on the panel with somebody from Harbor Light to talk about that third reviews project.
Right. So, how long have you been working professionally with this company?
So I started at Suffolk Law in 2012, which is how long I've been in fair housing, and then I've known Lauren since, I would say 2000.
So professionally, how many years have you been working with her?
I would say, well, professionally, the last 4 years, I've had a lot of questions related to access and equity, what we can discuss.
Right. So when you look at these 4 years working with her, what are you most proud of that you have accomplished with her to make it more, how can I say it, more citizen free for the people to come and know that they're going to be represented, and that, you know, you've gone that extra mile to do things. Can you think of something that you worked on like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely the Sturdy Beach project, and that's a great question that you're asking. So the standing order that the land court has enables people to go to the court and they don't have to pay to get this language addressed. And it's not intuitive necessarily of how to address this language in use. But Lauren wrote a really great Boston Bar Journal article about the process, and then she was absolutely willing. I asked her first before I gave out her contact information, but she was willing to be put in touch with the folks who then turned around and were able to include it in their project. So anybody who does want to take advantage of what the land court is doing can. And the one thing that I really appreciate about the standing order that I know Lauren and her colleagues at the land court worked on is that they're not redacting that language. They're not hiding it from history. They're making a paper trail and acknowledging it, and then putting in a caveat so that it's known that this is actually being addressed.
Right. So, in the 4 years that you've seen this nominee, what issue in land court do you think she has championed and made a difference?
Absolutely, the property needs, you know, that is one thing. I do think she's done a lot of work around the technical side of things and updating the court in the systems that they use, which isn't as exciting as other things to talk about, but it's super necessary.
Right.
And it has access implications as well. And so she's worked on that quite a bit. We've had a lot of conversations around language and use of language that calls everybody in to the process. So there's a handful of things that I would say, but yeah, I mean, her work on the not as exciting things related to forms and computer systems and documents, I would say that has a massive impact on work.
It is. Well, thank you. Your testimony means a lot to me. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, and that will conclude the witnesses in favor of the nominee. Are there any witnesses here in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close that part of the hearing. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So happy to be the chair, and good morning again to everyone. I'm really honored and grateful to be here before you today. Before I start, I would like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to each of the elected councilors of the Governor's Council for your time and commitment to vetting judicial nominees and ensuring the integrity, competence, and compassion of our judiciary. I appreciate the time you have invested in me over these weeks and the valuable insights you have shared with me. I'd also like to express my deep gratitude to Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll for placing their trust in me with this nomination. I would also like to thank the Chief Legal Counsel Paige Scott Reed and Deputy Legal Counsel Derek Kesselman, as well as all the staff and others within the offices of the Governor and the Lieutenant Governor for their invaluable guidance during this process. I want to thank Valerie McCarthy and her team for their dedication and assistance to the council. I also wish to thank all the commissioners of the Judicial Nominating Commission who work tirelessly to review and screen judicial applicants. I also want to very much thank my witnesses here today, Associate Justice Diane Rubin and Attorney Jamie Landowski, even though you called me. And I really want to thank my husband, Eric Nielsen, behind me, my family and friends, my colleagues, my land court family, many of whom are here today, and everyone in the room who came, as well as those who couldn't be here but are watching from afar. I appreciate all the support and encouragement. So you've now heard from my witnesses who've described some of my professional experiences and accomplishments. And you've seen my application materials that highlight those topics as well. So now I'd like to take a few moments to share a bit more about my personal background, which has played a significant role in shaping me into the lawyer that appears before you today. I want to first acknowledge the many privileges that I've enjoyed in my life, particularly the love and support of my small family, my husband, but really also my dad, Lawrence Reznick, who raised me, and my younger brother, Michael, as a single father. Like many others, my childhood and adolescent experience have shaped my values and my beliefs and why I decided to practice law. When I was 13 and my brother was 3, my mother experienced several mental health crises. They disrupted our family life and ultimately led to separation and divorce. My father suddenly became a single parent to a teenager and a toddler. To make ends meet, we left our home and moved in with my uncle Steve, who generously took us in during my remaining years of high school. As a single parent, my father balanced his work responsibilities, often juggling multiple jobs simultaneously with his caregiving responsibilities for me and my brother. I too began working in retail and food service when I was in high school. From my father's example, I learned everything I know today about responsibility, resilience, compassion, and the value of hard work. Another significant influence came into my life in high school when I met my teacher and my first mentor, Mrs. Jan Collins, who is actually watching today. When I was facing a particularly challenging time, her guidance and support were invaluable in helping me juggle work, home responsibilities, and my studies. Beyond her encouragement, she provided the push to help me chart a path towards college. She's been close to me like a mother ever since. I am grateful for this enduring connection we've formed, now spanning almost 3 decades. I sometimes reflect on how different my life might have been if Mrs. Collins had not offered herself to me in those years. That gratitude has motivated me to offer myself to others in need of a mentor. So I'll leave it to my mentees and maybe those following as well. My decision to pursue a legal career was solidified during a memorable moment in family court. During the dot-com economic recession, my father experienced an extended period of unemployment. He struggled to meet all of his financial commitments and send me to school. So he asked the court for help. I attended the hearing, and for reasons I didn't understand, the court refused to revise its previous orders. The court's decision was a real blow to us. We didn't have the resources to pursue an appeal, and in that moment, we felt helpless and defeated. However, we were lucky because my father's attorney volunteered to pursue that appeal pro bono. I carry with me how important the court's decision on that relatively minor motion was in our lives, and how dependent we were on that attorney's generous choice. I keep this in the forefront of my mind even now, because what's routine and everyday for judges, attorneys, and court staff often can impact the litigants for life. I went on to become a litigator myself, and in doing so, I developed the technical skills to handle client advocacy in court conferences, motions, hearings, and trials. But as I progressed through my life and career, I always look for opportunities to work on what is most impactful, which is helping people, particularly with their everyday struggles. Inspired by my own experiences, it was particularly meaningful to me to serve for several years as the pro bono lawyer for the day in housing court and probate and family court, providing guidance and counseling to individuals and families who are navigating the court system like I once did. In my personal life, I volunteered in my community. I've been a big sister for over 10 years, offering myself as a mentor to girls and young women who are on their own journeys. I've been incredibly fortunate to have had so many inspiring women mentors in my own life who have helped shape me personally and professionally. The opportunities that Big Sister has provided to me to pay that forward and support the next generation of young women have been really so rewarding to me. Yeah, thank you. I also look for ways to have a more systemic impact on the issues I care about. In 2023, I joined the board of the Cambridge Redevelopment Authority, and in my role at the CRA, I'm allowed to have an impact on urban planning and development projects that promote affordable housing, social mobility and equity, and community investment all throughout my hometown of Cambridge. In 2015, I came to work at the land court. When I first began my law practice, my career pathway didn't actually bring me directly to real estate. But these subjects have been a passionate focus of mine since I first fell in love with them in law school. Even though it was not a traditional move for someone in my career stage, when I had the opportunity to join the land court, I seized it. At the land court, I have a tremendous opportunity to work on the cases and legal problems that are meaningful to me and have significant impacts on our communities. Our specialized court helps families and neighbors resolve their property disputes, It helps communities and developers settle when new developments are built, and it helps homeowners in financial distress to retain their properties and home equity. It's an immense honor to work with the dedicated justices of this court, to have them come to me with hard and novel questions of law, and feel like I have something valuable to contribute in return. Throughout my time at the land court, I've also been dedicated to promoting transparency, justice, access, and fairness. As one example, since 2022, I have served as the land court's lead facilitator for our pro bono partnership with the Lawyers Clearinghouse and the Access to Justice Fellows. We launched the Tax Lien Legal Assistance Referral Program, which connects homeowners who are facing property tax foreclosure with pro bono legal advice and representation. This program helps preserve homeownership, prevent eviction, and protect home equity. I've developed essential resources, including recruitment materials, guides, training manuals, all of those things to support volunteer lawyers in assisting clients with redemption options. I'm so proud of the accomplishments of this important program, which is bridging that critical legal gap and helping homeowners navigate the challenging and arcane legal process during a very vulnerable time in their lives. If confirmed to the bench, I would like to say that I'd be committed to reaching just and equitable decisions for the citizens of the Commonwealth, to not only address the individual cases at hand, but also positively impact our communities as a whole. I want to thank you all again for your time and attention today. I'm eager for the opportunity to continue service to the Commonwealth if I'm confirmed in the Associate Justice of the Land Court. And I hope to earn your confirmation vote. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Council DePaul.
Thank you, Counselor. Good morning. I don't know much about land court, so I spoke to a lot of acquaintances and colleagues who do. They didn't raise any concerns about you. The concerns they raised were around some of the timeliness of acquiring dispositions. And I'm wondering, and it's come up a little bit, but and Councilor DeVane mentioned this. But are there more resources and judges needed at the land court in your estimation? Title examiners, where would the resources be most helpful?
Yeah, thank you for asking about that, because it really is so important that the land court is available to help people with their title problems, and that is important to everyone out there. So I think, you know, more resources always help. I think we really try to do the best with the resources we have. And thanks to advocacy from members of the bar and others, both internal and external, we actually have been able to get more resources in our title examination department. We've actually doubled the number of title examiners over the last 5 years in that department to help serve the public. I think there's always more work to be done, and certainly would shy away from having more resources directed toward that important work.
So, you know, based on my discussions with practitioners and folks, I think my main concern coming into this would be government, and your references, folks I spoke with and the letter submitted spoke highly of that. I appreciate that you're a volunteer with Big Brother, Big Sister. I think that says a lot about you as well. I read with great curiosity your writing sample because I once served on a planning board. And was occasionally frustrated when our disciplines were returned in various situations when we thought we had accurately interpreted the intent of our city's ordinances. So that was interesting, and I appreciate the inclusion of that. And then you had Council Kennedy, I have no further questions.
Thank you, Council Jacobs.
Thank you. We had a really interesting conversation and explored so many different areas. Several of which have already come up this morning, so I already inserted my commentary around. I do want to know if I assume we all, but I received an email from Chief Justice Piper that we've got the longest email I think I've received. Extolling all the ways in which he is so enthusiastically supporting you. I think you are so interesting in that not only did it become quite clear in our discussion whenever we went really deep into the nerdy weeds of it all, that you are so well informed and passionate about so many of the things that Langford does. But to echo a little of what Councilor Paul just said, the work that you do personally, for oral work and nonprofit work and volunteer work and effort around the kind of unified sense that comes out from all that you're doing around enhancing equity and access to justice and making the kinds of societal, cultural improvements to benefit from the most marginalized on. So I just appreciate that about you. I'm not gonna ask a ton of questions, but I'm gonna just, I have two. I do find it interesting where the courts overlap. And so, where land court, we didn't even talk about where land court, intersects with superior court in our discussion, but we did talk about where land court intersects with housing court, probate family court, and well, there's some other courts, but, I'm just curious about your thoughts about, how that works currently, and if there's room for improving how, our courts intersect with each other, in an effort towards enhancing justice.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We did get a chance to talk a little bit about our intersection of the housing court. Since you're asking about Superior Court too, I think, yes, so Superior Court shares zoning jurisdiction. We have concurrent jurisdiction with Superior Court on zoning. We also have concurrent jurisdiction over certain title disputes as well, though some are maintained exclusively for the land court. And people who are filing their cases don't always know that, including attorneys sometimes, and they'll file in the wrong court. That's why I think Judge Rubin brought up, although it feels like an arcane topic, there is a procedure under our statutes and the rules of the trial court where you can move cases between departments. You can either in a department only assign a judge or have a case moved to the court. And, the process may not always seem smooth from the outside, right? Because everybody just wants one court to hear it and one judge to hear everything. But we are a court of limited jurisdiction and we are a specialty court. I actually think that's what makes us wonderful. I think if you talk to most attorneys practicing out there, they wouldn't necessarily want one big block court that's hearing everything. I think that the land court has jurists at its time that have specialized experience and expertise in land use cases. And so it's actually really great that there is a procedure out there that's available for moving those cases around. We do have, I think you mentioned probate and family court too. Partition is a jurisdiction overlap that we have with probate and family court. That was actually a jurisdiction that was only granted to the land court, I want to say in 2002 or 2003, I'm looking at Smith behind me because Real Estate Bar Association was a major proponent of granting that jurisdiction to the land court, because sometimes those partition cases don't just necessarily involve family law issues, although they often do. Sometimes they involve very complex title issues that need to be unwound, and the folks at the land court, the judges at the land court, have a particular skill set that can handle that. So I think it's great that we have those overlaps, and I'm certainly open. I think not much on the court would be open if there's other areas like that where it would make sense to bring in the specialized expertise of land court judges.
Really appreciate that. I can ask you so many other things, but I will actually pause and pass the baton, but I'm very impressed by all that you bring to the table and your experiences and your passion towards the emotional context that that land court actually represents quite a lot of the people's stories of the property, and it's more than just a deed, but there's real depth of emotion and contextually.
Nice to see you again. Good to see you. Thank you for all the time you afforded me. And good out of the Hall of Fame for helping out. I do want to say that I thank you for your dedication as a big sister. And I've always said I would never vote for anyone who didn't have compassion, who didn't have really have it to be committed to that. And I'm sure you have been a big influence in all of the experience and everything you do that. And the other thing is, I'm going to thank you. It was on a personal note. I asked you when we met, one time we talked, and I asked you something that was going on in my community from the state, and you gave me the information, and I appreciate that, because it's very hard to find out about William and that type of thing. And I do want to say that I'm very concerned about the land court in connection with the housing court. This is the biggest need that our constituents in Massachusetts are going to go of all ages. And I asked personally of Chief Justice Bud if she would form a citizen committee. Because I've been in touch for 25 years with people who have been involved in housing groups. And they've educated me because there are different rules in different courts. How many people know that? I wouldn't have known that if I didn't connect with these people. And, there was one issue that came before us that really touched my heart. And it was someone in the housing court, and the case went to the Superior Court. And that Superior Court judge did not understand, and he didn't get his due, this person. So, unfortunately, that hasn't happened, that we do have that citizen committee, because I think it's important, because they're here 24/7 watching. And, they really don't have that voice. So, I would still hope that Judge Bud will do that. But do you see that as a different rule with something going from to the Superior Court, that the Superior Court judge is not, you know, is not privy to that because it doesn't come up before the Superior Court?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting take on the issue. And I think that what I hear you saying is that having that specialized experience in a particular area of law, whether that be housing court, which has specialized experience in eviction and summary process and residential issues, including, I think, you know, they deal with sanitary code, they deal with all kinds of things that have come out of residential housing. And similarly in land court, we have that specialized expertise involved in all matters related to title and zoning and you know, those cases for which we have specialized jurisdiction. And so what I think I hear you saying is that, you know, there is a real need for those specialty courts to serve the public with that specialized knowledge. And you know, Superior Court is a very powerful court. It's a very useful court for a wide variety of cases, whether that's major civil cases involving businesses with lots of money or major criminal matters. But I think sometimes some of these issues that we're talking about, like housing court and land court, they can get pressed to the bottom if the concurrent jurisdiction is happening in the Superior Court, because especially in criminal cases, you know, speedy trial is a factor there. So those cases have to move to the front of the line. So I think that I agree that there's a real need in our Commonwealth for specialized courts to be able to serve the people on these kinds of issues.
Because from my experience here for 25 years, I have seen and I have heard from people, some have come as witnesses, and one I will never forget this man who had a 12-year-old son, and he was evicted out the street, and his son kept asking, where are we gonna live here? Where am I gonna go to school? That's what I'm concerned about. So, but I do, I know inquiring minds want to know, how did you choose land court? I mean, we think of all the, you know, all the other courts, all the things, all the exciting things that are happening in those courts. Tell me how you decided to go into land court. And I do want to say, I think your background in your employment, you know, the district attorney's office, all of that you've seen fraud, you've seen misdemeanors, you've seen all, I think all of that adds to your qualifications. And I'm going to say it straight out, because I said I don't have a poker face. I've been here 25 years, and you are the most outstanding, Justice agreed. Most outstanding, you have had the background that I haven't seen. And I'm just so pleased that you applied. And I'm not surprised in the last administration you were chosen, okay? Because you're not political. You came here the old-fashioned way. You earned it. You're so qualified. And I couldn't be more pleased with the governor to choose you. And you've earned it before. You should have been appointed before. So tell me, how, in all of you've got one of experience, I'm not gonna go through all of it, but given our experience, I mean, I would think that you would have gone maybe to the appeals court or the superior court. Tell me how land court was your priority.
Sure, thank you for your comments, I feel very humbled by that, it's been such good company. So, you know, it actually goes all the way back to law school. You know, when I started law school, I actually thought that like my strong suit just would be in criminal law. And that is what I thought when I started. However, in my first year of law school, my favorite class was property law. And there was a particular professor, who was well known at the law school, Professor Rickman at BU Law, who was known for being a really tough professor. But if you did well in his class and earned his respect, that itself felt like a really great accomplishment. And I love learning from him, I love his style of teaching, and I did learn a lot through that, and so I developed that interest, and what I did was I took, more classes, I took a land use class in second year law school. In fact, actually, that same land use class at BU Law is now taught by Judge Foster of the land court now, so there's a real strong land court connection to those kinds of classes in law school. And so I knew that was what I wanted to do, but when I graduated law school and started at the law firm, I actually did try to split my time, and because I also was very much interested in being in a courtroom and being a litigator, especially from my background. And what happened was the 2008 financial crisis. So the real estate market really shut down in that time, and there really wasn't any work in that area. So because of that, I ended up focusing much more on the litigation, the more general litigation side. And that's why you see so much of that in my background. And to be fair, I think it's been great for me, and I learned a lot along the way. I've learned how different courts work. I've been in different courts and before different judges and have a variety of clients. And because of that, I think when I got the chance to come back to real estate work and saw the opportunity at the land court, I really seized on it, because that was where I knew I wanted to take my career going forward.
Now, in all of your cases, and I'd like to talk about the pro bono program, it's marvelous. So given all of that, what stands out as the most rewarding result that you've had, that you've been involved in one of these cases?
Yeah, I think that in our first couple months, I was in 6 months of launching the tax lien pro bono program, and we heard a couple success stories that I think were really powerful. I remember one involved a gentleman who was able to use family supports and make connections with family to be able to retain the home. And that really required a lot of creativity on the part of the lawyer involved in that case. They ended up doing a more complex real estate transaction where one party, like the family member, was able to fund enough money to get a loan so that the father could stay in the home. But then there was a life estate created so that the person would be paid back for what is a substantial sum of money that came from the home. So I think that was it was just rewarding to see that somebody actually was able to stay in. Oftentimes in a tax lien foreclosure, because of the threat of losing the home, the result often will be downsizing. You know, this home isn't actually affordable anymore to the person who's living there, so they'll have to sell the property, but you know, hopefully retain as much equity as possible, and then be able to use that money to buy a smaller property that is more affordable for the person. But this one was rewarding because they were able to stay there because the family came together to make that happen.
Well, that's where compassion comes in, compassion, and I think that's the most important priority, besides honesty, fairness, and all of that, but you have to have compassion, especially in the land court and housing court. And I've had an experience here to hear horrific stories. And you know what I found is, especially for an elderly person, probably a woman, it usually is the case, that's alone, does not have any relatives, that is widowed, is the one that's put out and doesn't have any recourse to, to get help. And that's the thing that, in meeting with you and taking all the time and reading your resume, that we need someone like you to bring that compassion, to understand, what it is to be in those shoes, to be on the street. So, I can't be happier than that. Now, tell me about the pro bono program. How it was founded. I know it started and you're involved in it, how important it is.
Yeah, I think, there was an interest in creating some type of program, that would help self-represented litigants in the tax session for many years before I get involved in this effort. And they tried different models, they really did. A lot of courts use a program that's called Lawyer for the Day, which I mentioned in my own statement, where a attorney will be at the court to help litigants who are appearing for that one day in court. It won't become a long-term relationship, but it'll help the person get through whatever the next event is. We tried a program like that or thought about a program like that, but in the tax session, being there for one day isn't going to solve the issue. So we knew we needed to try a different model. And we're really put things over the hump on getting that off the ground was a partnership with Lawyers for Every Master. We were so grateful to have. They have an access to justice fellows program where they take retired judges or retired lawyers who still want to give back. And bring them into various places, nonprofit organizations and the like. And we were lucky to get a access to justice fellow in our program that helped us set up this referral organization. And so it's just been such a success since then, and I'm just really proud to be involved in keeping it going. And we're really trying to expand its reach and bring it so that it can help more people and have more lawyers involved.
A wonderful program. Let the public know, how many years have you been working as a lawyer?
As a lawyer, I guess it's over 16 or 17 years. And I've been in the Marine Corps for about 9 years. No.
That would be the 15 minutes at this point.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I love
Outside now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
what time.
It's good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you.
Well, we had a lengthy conversation. Very impressed with your experience and your knowledge. You really know a lot about the Marine Corps, and I'm looking through the resume. You worked there, give or take 10 years.
Yes.
And the thing is that the Marine Corps is actually located in downtown Boston, but you do travel.
Yes.
Can you explain to us, like, for the people who say the western part of, like, western part of the state, how do those people get access and how long can you go to these other places?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So even though we have one location in Boston, right, share a building with the Suffolk Superior Court right across the street from here, we have statewide jurisdiction. Land is everywhere in Massachusetts, and so what we do is we travel. We bring our court out to the people when they need it. So especially when there's going to be a hearing that involves witnesses, a trial, we're able to work with partnerships with the other court departments and borrow a court for the day or for a couple of days if that's what we need to do, because it helps make sure that people can access our services.
Well, thank you for that. I don't have any questions. Your council has been a great supporter of yours, and when your name comes before the council next week, I'd be more than happy to support you. Thanks very much.
We'll be on an assembly next week, it's the day after election day, but maybe the week after.
It's my birthday, so it's my birthday.
It's your birthday, yeah, and all that.
Birthday.
So done.
It's a full day of obligation. How are you?
Good, how are you?
It's good. Good to see you. We had a long, vigorous conversation.
We heard about it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did, to say the least. I'll say it again, anyone that wants to work in the land court as a judge is entering one of Dante's circles of hell, as far as I'm concerned. It is a very complex court, and I commend you for wanting to do this work. I expressed to you my concerns, not just about your qualifications, that you have actually never been in the court yourself. You clearly are a smart lawyer, you know how to do this work. But I did hear from constituents, you've never litigated in that court. You've never been in the courtroom. And that, you know, you assuaged me, you gave me a lot of faith that you're able to do it, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring that up, because this court is very, very complicated, as you know, probably better than anybody else. And I know there's been tremendous, as you have shared with me, progress in getting through some of the backlog. But the questions that I'm gonna ask you, and I'm only gonna ask you a couple, because I really put it in the steps. When we talked, we had a very, very long, very vigorous conversation. As a real estate professional, I get calls from people all over the state. And really because I'm on governor's council, but because I know this profession as well. Most whom I've never met in my life, who have things stuck in their court, and they can't get a call back. They can't get a call back from the chief title examiner. I myself have experienced that. Governor Baker's chief legal counsel himself experienced that. If the governor's chief legal counsel can't get someone to respond, there is a very, very serious problem. You're not the chief, so not your problem. But it is your problem, because people are curious. I know one agent who, again, that works for another company, and their client lost well over $100,000 because the land court couldn't move. And it was really a decision that had to be made by the title examiner, that in my opinion, and I'm just guessing, they didn't know what to do, so they did nothing. And that is not acceptable. You know, this happened when the market was hot. They had an offer on the property. The father who owned the property was waiting for the funds to go into the private nursing care. And every day, the family's thinking, is he gonna die in another home facility? Because the state's not moving fast enough to get him his money. They lost 3 deals. And the interest rates started escalating. And it really became disastrous, to the point that the only way it got settled was Lieutenant Governor Polito made a call right before Christmas to say, do something. That deeply concerns me, not just as a governor's counselor, not just as a realtor, but as a citizen. That are you so overwhelmed in that court that people just can't do their jobs? How do you explain that? I mean, you've been the general counsel, and I know you're not the chief, and I've had numerous conversations with the chief, which.
Excuse me, not the chief yet.
Yeah, right, well, maybe, but you know, it's just a gerbil wheel. I have tremendous respect for him, but it's just a gerbil wheel of conversation. We have the best people, well, yeah, except, do you have enough?
No, I thank you for raising this, because resource constraints are a huge problem for not only my court, many courts. But you're also really telling us how important the land court is to people out there.
So
every day.
important.
Yeah, and through their everyday struggles, and so allocating the resources, you know, to make that happen, is really important. And I, you know, there's Councilor Paulo actually asked a very similar question about our resources. And I think that there, you know, we really do try to do the best with what we have, but have there been gaps over the years? Absolutely, there have. And what I can say is today we have double the amount of title examinations that has taken us 5 years to get that. And we've had challenges over those years. We've had retirements of key employees who had decades of title examination experience. We had the COVID-19 pandemic, which happened to coincide with one of the hottest real estate markets we've seen in Massachusetts. And so, you know, yes, there are times that, and I think this is true in many court departments, when the workloads that we have, you know, just is more work than can be handled. But we do try to make the best use of the resources we have. We're very thankful to the advocacy for more resources. We advocate internally for that, but the public's voice carries even more weight when it comes to that. And so really, thank you for raising that to public consciousness. and making sure that the resources will come to us. We have many more now than we did before. More is always better because this is really important work.
It is, and it touches everybody's lives, you just don't know it. You know, it's like a lot of things in law and in the court system, you don't know it until you're in the thick of it. And to be very fair and clear, the issues that your title examiners are often dealing with are very complex and very, sometimes maybe even bizarre. You can't, I had two people stop me yesterday saying, how on earth did this property close? I mean, it went through and it closed, but there's still open liens on property. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And I can't explain it to them. So you and I talked about something and you brought it up just now, and I think this is very important for the public and everyone here to understand is we don't have enough title examiners in the state, period, right now. People that became title examiners, it was almost like reading the law. It was like an apprenticeship. You went and you worked with an attorney or a law firm and you learned that way. You and I had I thought a fruitful conversation about perhaps the junior colleges here, the community colleges could offer a certificate program and get experts like you and other folks from the land court and real estate professionals and mortgage professionals to teach people how to become title examiners, because the truth is, we don't have enough. Lawyers don't have enough. Law firms don't have enough. And some of the mistakes, I think, happen because lawyers are trying to do their own title exams because they don't have a title, they can't get anyone. And they're not title examiners, they're lawyers. And it's a very, very different job. And so instead of just criticizing, one of the things I enjoyed about my conversation with you is coming up with solutions. And I think that's, maybe it's not a perfect solution, but it's an idea. And maybe you can plant that seed with the lieutenant governor and the governor, of that would be something we can offer our citizens as a path to employment that helps us, law firms and our court, because this court is so, when I say Dante's circle of hell, you know, I'm being a little bit cheeky, but I'm really kind of not kidding, because it's hellacious work that you guys are doing. And it's so complex. It's very, and people, it's a very emotional, as you know from the conversation I had with you, it's very emotional stuff, you know. So I thank you for wanting to do it and bringing the expertise you have to this. Do you think we need to expand on how many judges we have in the court? Have you had time to think about that? I'm not gonna hold you to this. This is not a gotcha question. This isn't a trick. I'm just curious if you've given it any thought.
It's actually not something I've given particular thought to. I think it's an interesting idea. As you've already mentioned, the work on those issues really happens in the title examination department. And if judges are there at the end to sort of sign the orders and make sure that our certificates are issued in a way that is proper and legal. But a lot of that meaty work that you're talking about, and I also want to bring up a Halloween thing because there's zombie mortgages and we have endless trusts.
Right.
So, and those are some of those complex issues that you're talking about, and they're really dealt with every day by the title examiners. So I think that's where the concentrated resources really need to be.
Are title examiners, are they paid enough? Are we being competitive?
I think that there is a lot of room to be more competitive in our hiring, and this is something that I think, you know, we do have opportunities to advocate for, and we really take this opportunity to help along.
Because you've lost a lot of institutional knowledge, and that is a danger in every profession as we age, as hopefully we do. That institutional knowledge gets lost, but it also becomes in economics, right? And someone in the region to be doing this. And so I will continue to advocate and encourage those I know in the legislature who work also in this industry to advocate for more resources to hire more title examiners. And if at some point the judges and the chief decide that they think they need more resources to expand as well, let us know. We don't control the purse strings, but we can advocate. we can, you know, that, to me, that's part of my job as a governor's counselor, is to advocate for the courts, you know, because you are, I take it personally, I mean, you are ours, and especially since this is a court that I deal with, I don't want to say unfortunately, it's only unfortunate because they're usually not good circumstances, but on at least weekly basis, it's of great concern to me. So,
You're running out of time now.
I'm out.
Okay,
I'm
January
done.
1st is coming fast.
I'm done. You've got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. I've heard wonderful things about you, especially from my friend and somebody who came to the council twice, Jennifer Roberts. You did an outstanding job on the board, but many people have called on your behalf, said how wonderful you were. There's no doubt you're gonna make a great judge on the land court. I had a question about diversity. So tell me about when you interviewed the JNC. What were your feeling about that? Did you think it was diverse enough? Did you think that they asked appropriate questions?
Actually, yes, very much so. I think it was great to see the room of people there, people that I know work in this field, including those who had experience with the land court, were involved in my JNC process. It was a very diverse group, and I really did appreciate that they were asking questions that I think got to the heart of those issues when I went through the process.
Well, it's good to hear that with people in the JNC that know something about the land court.
You know, not a few.
That's all. What about geographic diversity?
You know, I don't know all the areas, but I do know that, at least one of the commissioners there was, from Worcester, I believe you mentioned that, but otherwise I'm not sure about the geographical representation of the workers.
I think it's important that the entire state gets representation on the JNC and on the court.
Absolutely, yes, especially as part of statewide jurisdiction.
Look at Jennifer, who was a Cape woman, who was awesome because there are a lot of land disputes, of course, in the Cape and the islands. And I know she had a vast experience and did a great job of that. Do you think that we have enough people with vast experience in the land use area applying? You know?
You know, I don't know one way or the other how many applied, but I know that we see a large variety from all over the state of practitioners that come before the court. Again, because we are statewide, we have practitioners that come before us from Western Massachusetts, from the Worcester area, from the south, the north, everywhere. And we come to them when they do that.
And how often do the judges of the land court actually sit in Boston?
I don't have, oh, sorry, Boston?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so that's our home location,
And do the
so,
judges go there every day?
yes, every day.
And are there any other offices in the state?
We don't have, another courthouse that's dedicated to land court in the state, but we do borrow courthouses from the other court departments when we need to hold hearings or trials, out in other parts of the state.
So I recently went to an appeals court hearing at UMass in Dartmouth, which was great. Does the land court travel routinely?
Yes, I think especially to the Cape and Islands, it happens quite a bit, because it can be tough for a lawyer who works in that area to get into Boston for a 9 a.m. start of the trial. So it's very common that our judges would go sit down in Barnstable, sit in Nantucket, sit on the Vineyard. Though that's common, we have judges who sit out in Springfield, Pittsfield, they'll come and hear a case out in Worcester. Fall River was another one, that I know just happened.
Okay, so I'm a lawyer, I've been in real estate for probably a quarter of a century, I don't practice any of that as a lawyer. My understanding is if you have a case that could be filed at the land court and at the superior court, either one concurrently. What's your sense on the track, like, when are you gonna get a faster trial date or a faster decision? Is there a back, filing the superior court or the land court, same case?
Comparatively speaking, I'm not sure what tracking orders they use in the Superior Court, so if you have like a zoning case, you could come to either your local Superior Court or you could come to land court. I know that those cases in our court are on fast track. So we have a standing order that lays down exactly the zoning case, you know, when certain things are supposed to happen by, and our judges routinely will also question the counsel and parties in the case saying, you know, this is a presumptive track, fast track. But we can go even faster, right? If you don't feel that you need a lot of discovery, we can get that calendar sooner. So in Superior Court, I think that I'm sure they have a similar tracking system for the civil cases. But, you know, the press of business in the Superior Court also requires that some things move to the front line because of speedy trial requirements in criminal cases, so.
Like I said, beside Jennifer Roberts, I also got a call from a judge on the housing court, and got a call from the lawyers. I read the long letter that the chief wrote for you with a glowing review. I'm happy that you applied, and happy that you're gonna serve. I would also say just keep the geographical diversity in mind, for people that aren't close to Boston, and continue to do what you're doing. And I gotta say that, when people have called me because their cases are stuck in land court, I always have them call Deb Patterson, and she's been amazing, and no, you have been, and I appreciate that because you answer calls and you let people know at least procedurally where they are. And if you can help, you do, so I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you very much. You have one vote next week.
Okay, I don't have any questions for you because we spent a long time talking in my office and went over everything. I look forward to putting your name in nomination, hopefully not next week, hopefully the week after, because I think like everybody else in the country, we have an election day, and we're all gonna be up to 2 in the morning and see what happens. I know Councilor Arnello's planning on staying up all night. So, we're gonna close the hearing.